always do, because sometimes on Facebook it's a little weird.
Yeah, sounds good.
All right, we are live on YouTube and Facebook. Excellent. Okay, great. All right, awesome. We will go ahead and get started. All right, well, good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining us today for another City Updates. My name is Jamie Chavez. I'm the President and CEO of the Westminster Chamber of Commerce, and we're thrilled to have you with us today. As always, we're here to bring you the latest insights straight from City Hall, featuring conversations with our councilors, our mayor, mayor pro tem, and other city leaders as well. It is your backstage pass to what's going on here in Westminster. If this is your first time to the broadcast, thanks for joining us. A special welcome to you. Thanks for being here. You can like us on Facebook and follow us to get notifications for when we go live in the future. And if you're on YouTube, you can hit subscribe and watch all of our previous broadcasts there as well. Mondays on the broadcast are all about city updates, while Wednesdays we offer a chance to meet some of our newest chamber members. So I encourage you to join us Wednesdays at 11 for those broadcasts as well. And as you watch the broadcast this morning, feel free to engage with us. Don't be shy. Drop any comments or questions, or simply say hello, and we will get to those comments during the interview. And now, finally, a warm welcome to one of our newest councilors, Councilor Jack Johnson. Thank you for being here with us today.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah, so excited to have you on for your first time, and we're going to use this time as just kind of a get to know you session, and you can tell us a little bit about yourself and your background and how you ended up serving the city of Westminster on City Council.
Yeah, thank you. I'm excited.
All right, well, go ahead and let's just do a quick introduction. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, so Jack Johnson, I'm the second newest councilor, because the week after I got sworn in, we brought on Councilor Barajas, so I don't get the title of newest. But so I've been on council for 4 months now. Prior to that, and currently now, I work as an attorney at a civil rights law firm, nonprofit. That is all over the state of Colorado, but I end up working a lot here from my house and spend a decent amount of time in the city of Denver as well.
Awesome. And how long have you been here in Westminster?
I have been here for coming up just over going to be 6 years pretty soon here. I'm originally from rural southern Colorado, outside the city of Pueblo in the county there.
Outside the city of what?
Pueblo.
Oh, Pueblo.
And out in the county. And I came up here to go to school and bought a house here and never left.
Yeah, that happens to a lot of people.
Yeah.
What do you love most about Westminster?
The thing I love most about the city is the opportunity that it provides. Obviously, I came here to live here for the opportunities it provides, but I think it's so rich, full of, people and businesses and a sense of community that you don't see in other places in the metro area like you see here. And so I feel like I know my neighbors. I feel like I know the local community. And I feel like I'm connected to living here, which is a great feeling, to be kind of connected to your home.
Absolutely. Yeah. And was there a specific moment when you decided that you wanted to step into public service? Or what drew you here?
So, being kind of a public service lawyer, the idea of doing good in the community, it's definitely not something I'm a stranger to. But I will say, I think it's a little bit over 4 years ago, I joined my HOA board primarily to help fix the lights, because we had lights out. And I found that job incredibly rewarding, kind of being able to, be on this. I live in a multifamily area. So there's about 130 units with, several hundred people living here. And being able to just be kind of a place where the community convenes and we solve problems together, whether it's, putting on new roofs or, fixing up the gardens, doing those type of projects, and then helping, use my skills to manage a budget in a way that we can be fiscally responsible while still making community improvements. was such a tangible way to make my neighbors and my life better. And so when I, being involved in government as a lawyer and understanding government, when you learn about what the city does, it's in many ways very similar, just on the larger scale, to what we do at our HOA here, in terms of we provide core public service improvements that better the lives of our neighbors. And so I jumped at the next opportunity I could have run, because and have so far loved it, because I love that type of work.
Yeah, absolutely. What do you think has been, let's see, what is this, March? So you've been in for a few months now. What do you think have been some of your biggest surprises?
Yeah. I would say one of the biggest surprises has been the speed at which I think we move as a city. There's just so much going on. I mean, we're a city that maybe isn't growing in terms of our boundaries, but in terms of the services that we provide, and the way we're maturing. Really, this is really a city that is finally coming of age. And because of that, we are transitioning from a green grass city to a built out city, and that requires a bunch of transition, everything from how you do a budget to how you plan for the future. And so the pace, you would think that, having been a city for so long and having such great city management staff and great previous councils, that things have been taken care of, and they have been taken care of, and yet there's still so much more to do. And so the pace is definitely something that surprised me. Even in December, we were off to the races.
Yeah, you guys have you guys have already done a lot in the time that you've been on council, and so it's definitely a fast-paced environment. How would you describe your leadership style and how you kind of fit in with the rest of the group at council?
Yeah, it was interesting, after kind of being sworn in and figuring out, having known a couple of the counselors ahead of time, but not having worked with all of them in the capacity. It was definitely a very steep learning curve to figure out how to, if anyone joining a new team. I also, when I was first sworn in, was the only new member. Most of the rest of the counselors and the mayor had all been there before. And there was a lot of shock of new team, new guy on the block. But since then, I would say we have really formed a great cohesive unit in the way we work and the way we operate. And to me, it feels like a really well-oiled machine now. My leadership style is really to lean in and engage and ask questions. And I love to, and will always give people the benefit of the doubt that they're trying to do the right thing. And so even when we don't see eye to eye or have a mutual understanding, it's great to give people the benefit of the doubt that they're coming from a place of trying to do the right thing. And that leads to so much better resolution, because we can work back from the solution maybe and just to the core problem, and then find better solutions. And so that has really, I think, paid off well as we work through issues as a council. But there are not that many issues. I think right now we're really all on the same page on how we want to move forward. And there's so many great ideas that we're working on.
Awesome. So as you have been talking with residents during your campaign and then after your campaign, what concerns or priorities came up the most or come up the most as you're talking to people in the city?
Yeah. I think, by far the largest concern is, how do we continue to make this a city where people can live and work and remain affordable to them? Whether it's, affordable to own a business, affordable to be a worker here in our community, affordable to raise children. One of the things that is on the top of everyone's mind is, how do I continue to afford my home, my groceries, my taxes? And so, that has been a really highlight for council, is how do we make things more affordable and keep the things that are affordable. Some things are out of our control, like gas prices went up over $1 the last week, and that's less affordable, but that's not something that city council can control. But other things we can control, in the way we budget, the way we tax, and the way we zone out in our city, can definitely incentivize and create little pockets of affordability on high priority issues. The other big thing that we hear a lot of is kind of road and traffic safety, whether that's related to speed, whether that's related to pedestrian access, whether that's related to traffic corridors. we're a city that was kind of built out between two major highways. And, as those between Highway 36 and Highway 25, as you get into the city, I think there is a lot of questions around how do we keep noise pollution down? How do we keep people going a safe speed? How do we prevent accidents and keep people safe? And we hear a lot about that in little pockets all over the city. Why is the speed bump here? Can we get a light there? And all of those issues, I think, reflect a maturing city with maturing infrastructure, and how do we take that next step to modernize our traffic safety infrastructure.
Yeah, and I think that you kind of mentioned being the location of Westminster, which is unique between Denver and Boulder, 36 and 25. What do you think are some other things that differentiate our city?
Yeah, and this is not necessarily shade on our neighbors, but I think we have a long history of continued excellence in this city when it comes to the services that we provide. We're the only city around here that has fire service that is a part of our city and not in a fire district. A lot of the services that we provide have always been very high quality, and that trickles down all the way to the type of customer service that the city provides. And we do a lot more than many of our neighbors when it comes to resident interaction. If you've ever emailed city councilor or the city manager, you always get a response, and it's thoughtful and it's thorough. Even before I was on council many years ago, emailed about getting permits as we were redoing our decks at the HOA, and got a really thoughtful response with all of city leadership engaged. And I think that is a great, unique thing about our city, is that we pride ourselves on being very engaged with the people that live here and providing a robust, high quality service to people here in the city.
Yeah, definitely. What excites you most about Westminster's future over the next few years?
Yeah, I am incredibly excited about this transition to a mature city, because I think it unlocks a lot of opportunity about being creative about what the future of our city looks like. I mean, we are really at now where between 2 and 4% of the land left, depending on how you count it and what's encumbered and what's not, is left to build. And so like I mentioned at the beginning, we have a tremendous obligation, but also a wonderful opportunity to take that next step as a mature city, a modern city here in the Front Range. And modernizing means a lot of great opportunity and also challenges to get there. And so I'm really excited for that work and to do that work, and excited for the outcome as we come out on the other side of kind of a city that has taken that next step with modern infrastructure, modern safety, modern budget, all of those things that I think will really improve the quality of life for people here, that for a long time the city was in the growing phase.
Yeah, absolutely. And you guys just did a big strategic planning session. Hopefully it wasn't too long or too onerous, but it sounds like it went well. So what can you give us? What information can you give us from that session, and what things have you decided to focus on as a council?
Yeah, it was great. I mean, it was a full Saturday, but I think everyone on council came prepared with what they had talked to community about, what they had received input on, and we came out on the other side, I think, with a really I don't want to say unprecedented, because I haven't looked back 20 years, but in the last several iterations of council, we really streamlined and improved our strategic plan that was a lot longer term, and a lot more focused on discrete issues. And so we will all see the final product of that here soon, as we kind of go back to the writing phase now that we did all the idea generation. But the strategic planning really focused on some of these key things that we can do as a city that we haven't been able to do before. Obviously there was a focus on affordability issues, water rates, as we do our water rates study, and it's going to come out, and how do we work on that? Infrastructure, how do we modernize our infrastructure? And the thing that I took away with that kind of seeped in through all of that was we want to be as we now are a modern city, a connected city. And so whether that's our trails, our roads, whether that is our virtual space in the way city council engages with the community and the city engages with our community, we want people to feel connected to each other and connected to the city. And so that was really kind of at the very high level what guided a lot of the conversation there.
Awesome. And maybe we can switch to a little bit more, just kind of more about you and yourself. So what do you think that is something that people might be surprised to learn about you?
Yeah, it's something that's on the resume that people always point out, which is when I was in college, a good friend of mine and I started shrimp ranching, which is, because shrimp are not, they're livestock, they're not agriculture, they're
Yeah.
not, so it's a rancher, not a farmer. And it was really this, we wanted to start our own little small business and, deliver fresh shrimp to local businesses. And after college, when I went to law school, didn't really have the time to keep ranching shrimp, but it is definitely kind of a fun little fact that people don't know, which is why I tell people, being from rural Southern Colorado, I often wear boots. And I can tell people, well, I'm a cowboy, I'm a rancher, because we had little shrimp tanks.
So what kind of shrimp?
Just your general, we were looking at like your U5, they're bigger shrimp that you could sell head on and fresh. And so is this idea that most of our shrimp in this country, probably like 90% the last time I looked, is imported from South and Southeast Asia. And it's frozen and it's shipped over here and it's good. But like, if you go to higher end places where you really want the freshest of the food, you really can't get fresh shrimp unless you go down to like the Gulf. And so there are places all over this country, like New Mexico, Arizona, kind of in the Mountain West, where you basically take large swimming pools and you through some biochemistry, which is what my undergrad degree is in, you can make the water habitable for shrimp and then you grow the shrimp.
I'm so interested in this. And this is completely, nobody else is going to care about this, but my daughters have fish tanks now, and they have shrimp in their fish tanks, and they're this big. They're not like the shrimp that you eat, but it's so funny because they all have names and they all swim around, and I just didn't even realize you could have shrimp in your home, but you can, and you can range them.
You can. We started in my college friend's basement with shrimp tanks and went from there. We talked about trying to get a small warehouse to put some swimming pools in here in Westminster and start it up again. But between my job and council, I'm not sure how much time I have to ranch shrimp up here.
Well, I will look forward to that endeavor that you decide to do one day.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. All right. Well, who would you say, let's see, another get to know you question. Who would you say inspires you, either locally or globally, past or present, and in how they lead or serve?
Yeah. I think when that you think currently and then historically, I get a lot of inspiration from reading about John F. Kennedy, because I think not only from a policy perspective and the way you can use policy to really build a country. I mean, like there have been fewer times in history where a country has been more united than during that presidency, during kind of a united front in the space race. And, much of the modern American education system really developed during that era. And so that idea of being kind of a great uniter is something that is really inspiring to me, because I think it's a great way to lead. And then there is this sense of being a great orator. And I think there's a lot of value in being able to deliver a message in an impactful way. And so, in the thoughts of history, that one sticks out more than most.
Awesome. Very good. And let's see, what are your favorite spots around Westminster? If you are going to go get a cup of coffee, or you're hungry, or you want to relax, what are you doing?
Yeah. A couple of favorite spots right off the bat are, I live pretty close here in South Westminster to Los Arcos. That's where I did my little city video. And that is just a wonderful spot. And anytime I can get over there, I get over there with my family and anyone that I bring into town. So if I'm ever hungry, that and then if I want to be really quick, there's on Thursday through Sunday the food truck, the Tacos El Divino, on 80th and Federal, right as you're going, kind of north on Federal. That is a great little food truck, and I love to go there on a kind of weekend night as if I'm coming home from something. If I'm going to coffee, I love Sweet Bloom in downtown, and just like being downtown. I think it's a great downtown, and I'm excited for all the new projects we're doing there, and including the park that that's going to open up here this spring.
Mhm.
In terms of hanging out, I am not much of a runner, but I love to walk around. And my fiance is training for a marathon, so she likes to run. And so, anywhere along that big dry parkway is just a wonderful walk. I mean, it's so connected. You can get from one end of the city to the other basically uninterrupted and without having to cross too many roads. All the way from Stanley Lake up north to the north part of the city. And so, I love picking a spot on that trail and taking a walk as she runs.
Yeah, that's awesome. We have great trail systems here in Westminster. Definitely.
Yes, we do.
What's one goal that you have for this next generation of residents or leaders here in Westminster? What do you hope to see in the next 10 years?
Yeah. My big goal in the next 10 years is we see, like our country did the last 5, a really big reinvestment in modernizing our city infrastructure. Whether it's the pipes underneath that, if anyone was driving on Sheridan yesterday on like 92nd and Sheridan, the road was closed because we have, a pipe that's decades old that broke. And that is not uncommon. And I think, as we look to the next decade of our city, I would love to see this reinvestment in the physical infrastructure of our city so that it can last the next 50 years. And so, by the next 10 years, I hope that we've kind of really focused on that reinvestment. And then I think a reimagining of a lot of these transit oriented centers of both commerce and living, where we have a lot of mixed use development that I think, from what we've heard about Front Range, rail and some of the other high speed rail networks and districts, I think we're hopeful that we're going to get a stop near the downtown and then a stop in South Westminster. And I'm hoping to really bring a lot of life into those areas in a way that business, commerce, and the quality of life in those pockets of our community really transforms with the development of that transit-oriented infrastructure.
Yeah, definitely. We have those same hopes for sure.
Yeah.
And what would you say more shorter term, what's your biggest priority for the rest of this year?
Yeah, well, we have, for those of you who follow along on council, we have a whole kind of volley of things that we're doing to make government more efficient. So whether it's our ODP approvals, our some of the meetings that we do, some of the work that we're doing around, for example, water. We have a huge bucket of things that we can do to make housing and living in the city more affordable and make government more efficient. And we've already started to put on the agenda a bunch of these items. So I'm hoping not even by the end of the year, by the end of the summer, we've worked through a lot of these policy objectives and really streamlined our processes here in the city.
Awesome. Very good. And let's see. I want to do another get to know you question. What are you reading right now? What's on your bookshelf? In your spare time, of course.
Yeah. I would say the two things, and one of them I'm listening to and one of them I'm reading, is there's a book called Life of a Movement Lawyer, kind of about being a lawyer, but not being a lawyer in the traditional sense, kind of a lawyer that leads movement and leads change. And that's I think a really kind of core focus of my profession and something. So there's all kinds of books around lawyers who have really made changes in their communities, and this is another one. Um, and I'm reading a book called Happy City, and it's a book. When I joined council, I had a stack of urban infrastructure books because, well, I know a lot of policy areas, healthcare, education, justice work, housing, and infrastructure is not something I dealt with every day. And so I've really tried to educate myself. And so I'm currently reading Happy City, which is just a fascinating scientific book about how cities are built and what in cities actually physically makes people happy. Not just, I'm happy with the amenities, but like I'm happy with where I live, and some great ideas in there for our city.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to check that one out. Happy City.
Yeah, it's very scientific, which is great because I come from a science background before I went to law school, and so it's great data driven approach to a really interesting mix between city planning and human psychology, right? Like, how do you build green spaces that make people happy? And, how do you, like, even to like, where do the doors of houses face that can make people happy?
Yeah. It's so interesting. Like in my neighborhood, all of the garages are in the backs of the homes, which I love because it makes the homes really pretty, but then you don't really have the neighbors in the front ever. So
yes, see, that's exactly what it talks about. There's at one point they're talking about a study about like the perfect size yard where you like can still connect with your neighbors, and it's like 10.2 feet. It gets down to like the inches of like that's the perfect size yard to be able to like converse with your neighbors without being too far apart. And so even stuff like that, it's so many cool, interesting facts.
Yeah, I read a lot of books like that when I was doing my master's. And so that one, I'm definitely going to pick that one up. It sounds really good.
Yeah.
Thanks for that recommendation. So if you weren't, when you're not on the trail system, or if you weren't, a civil rights lawyer or city councilor or a shrimp rancher, what career path would you be curious to explore outside of those that you've already done?
Yeah, I was very, very close to being a doctor. Both my parents are medical professionals, and they had a clinic in Pueblo, where I'm from, and that's why I went and originally got a biochemistry degree, because it was focused on potentially going to medical school, and so. Sometimes, especially when life gets really stressful, I think maybe I'll just go back to medical school, although I don't think that's any less stressful these days.
Yeah.
But and then another thing that like I grew up playing tennis and still play a lot of tennis, as well as the mayor pro tem and several members of the city staff apparently. And I think that like being a tennis pro would be like a great job, because there's no happier place than out on the tennis court hitting the ball with people that you enjoy. And so I'd have to be better at tennis, but if I could spend some time on that would be a fun job, I'm sure.
Yeah, I've never played tennis. I think I played tennis one time in PE in high school, and that's the extent of it. But I have recently picked up pickleball, which is pretty fun. So
Yeah, pickleball is great, and I love going with my friends. I think that tennis is incredibly aerobic, and so it's something where like I can play tennis for a couple hours and then I'm like exhausted, but I could play pickleball all day.
Yeah.
We go out there and just spend hours and hours, and it's always a great time.
Yeah, definitely. Good. Well, is there anything else you want to leave us with from your first Westy Live Council edition?
No, I appreciate you having me. I look forward to doing more of these, and appreciate your time today.
Yeah, thank you for coming on. We're excited to get to know you better. We're excited to work with you as you work with council and serve the city that we all love so much. So thank you for your time, and hope you have a good rest of your week. Thanks for everybody that joined us. We had a big group today, and thanks for everybody that's going to replay this. We'll see you all next time. Have a good one.